17 seconds.
Yes, I think you're good.
Hi. Okay, we were just having some computer issues. I'm really good with hypermobility and not computer stuff. So, thank you all for coming. There seems to be a lot of people in this situation of trying to figure out our body. And I am not medical. I am not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I started as a personal trainer. I then went to Pilates. I do gyrotonic. And maybe 20 years ago, I started getting into fascia, first with the foam roller and then with other modalities because I just hurt, And when I was a personal trainer, I got continuing education credits and I was a stretching specialist. And so I stretched and knew all of everything about that. And I just still didn't feel better. And so foam rolling kind of itched that scratch, but not really. And it really wasn't until I got into Yamana body rolling and learned the melt method a little bit more that I just started feeling how my body felt. And all of this time just working with people, I was able to try it with people and see how did they feel? What was their reaction? And just ask a lot of questions to connect them to their body to figure out, is that a good thing or a bad thing? So anything that I tell you, just keep remembering, I'm just trying to connect you to your body. The medical system kind of seems to take it out of your power and out of your control and put it in the hands of someone else, which is great. And it's great to get diagnosed. It's great to know some of these things. But then they say, go find another specialist. And people are just a little unsure of what to do. And I'm on the lower end of hypermobility, but I still have that histamine response that I'm not good in the morning. I can stretch, I can do really good yoga poses. And even with the most gentle, subtle yoga things, my back spasms. And so I really just started looking into anatomy and trying to figure it out and trying to figure out answers. And so really nothing I'm making up. I'm just taking all of my years of questions and now coming to you guys and telling you that you can try it too. You can potentially help to heal your body. That I really want to help you create this safe place so then when you aren't feeling that great, you can not only just go lie down, but you can also be productive with it, because there are other benefits of fascia than just muscle relief or fascia relief. So I'd like you to move gently, stay within your comfort range, and stop if something feels wrong or concerning. And some of you have vascular hypermobility, and so some of you need to be a little bit more cautious because fascia is this interesting webbing that outside of the body, I don't know if it really creates the same. It's just different, because if I were to explain to you a car situation or a house situation or a wire situation, you can replace those parts. And yeah, you can replace the parts in your body. But the cool thing is fascia can actually heal and be healed no matter your age. I work with some 80-year-olds and I don't try to fix or correct too much with them, but I really just try to listen to their nervous system. I check their eyes to see if they're darting around, if they're panicking. And the first thing is consent. You have to be willing to do this. And so because this is such a big spectrum of sensitive people, everyone's going to be in a different place. And so I really just need to stay safe with everyone and have it be really safe for everyone. And then I'm going to have to kind of, be able to create different cohorts of education and for people to understand that you can get to different depths of fascia. So the fascia is a webbing. And so there's the cellulite myth, which Ashley Black. I don't necessarily recommend the fascia blasting yet, but it's kind of cool because it kind of tells you about how fascia and looking at fascia and some people are really kind of flaccid And some people have different like pockets of cellulite, and some people have different waves. So in my experience with people with hypermobility, they have these, some people have really strong, stringy connections of their muscles. I'm also not a massage therapist, but I can feel in some people because they show me. And so, with compression therapy of being still, putting pressure on it, and breathing, that pressure is what creates osmosis in order to push out water from the fascia in order to hydrate it. So that really strong line band with the right compression and breath work can then start to soften a little bit. So when it's stringier and hard, there seems to be more fluid, and that's when people kind of seem more, a little bit more flaccid. Then when you start to push on that, then that hard band gets a little softer. I kind of think of it more like a rubber or plastic. And then it might become, the water might become a little bit more like honey. And so if you've ever done any rolling, you might have felt these hard thuds, and that's the rigidity of the muscle. And that's ultimately what I think we need to release a little bit more. So if you're someone who needs a lot of downtime, hey, you have the time. Let's bring this stuff to your bed, to the couch, to the floor, whatever it is. So I am curious if comments are on. I am curious, where are you from? If you're in the United States, out of the United States, and what are you coming with? Like, do you have an EDS? Do you have what diagnosis, or you're just kind of questioning? Because this really does cater to the whole spectrum of everyone, but it is just also different props. So I've had a lot of conversations in the last week, and some people seem like they just kind of want to know the right exercises. And I don't have the right exercises for you because I don't know what your body's doing, what the history is. And you're not going to work your way out with a workout to get out of this. You actually probably have to put that to the side a little bit and start to address your fascia, because the fascia is what communicates with your muscle to the brain. So, when people have these, the T-Rex arms and some of the things that people do, I think that's kind of the fascia and muscle looking to what's called force stabilize. So that's why compression might be good. I did have those blood flow resistance therapy bands, which I find as a good strategy to use when you're working out. But I do want to let you know that you can't wear those all the time. That will weaken you. So you can wear them while you work out, or you can wear them, but you also have to have a proper strengthening program. Otherwise, you're just going to atrophy more. And if you have the vascular issues, that's just going to be a whole other thing I think we need to talk about. But I did create a short video today because I'm curious of how sensitive you guys are to the touch. And so I really don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want someone to sign up and then hurt themselves. And so you need to be able to tolerate some pressure on, and you have to be willing to do a lot of it yourself. This is all what you do to yourself. And, at first you might need to spend a ton of time and hours and breathing into it, and then working your way up the different modalities that I have. So whatever you do, we need to remember to keep our spine the way it should be. That some of us are more curved than others. And even with scoliosis, I don't try to correct too much, because when I have people kind of like rounded forward and I ask them to come up, they usually just shift here up. So it really just shifts the issue to something else. And so I'm really just trying to see, how can I support people to get their nervous system to calm down, because the nervous system is just incredibly revved up and ready. And so, I find hypermobile people almost try too hard, and then the judgment is that they're actually not trying that hard. And I disagree with it, that I think there's a lot of questions, and I've been told a lot that I ask too many questions, and I turn that around on the person and think, well, you don't know the answer, and so you're just trying to whatever me. But there's a lot of questions. How much do I move? Where do I breathe? How do I breathe from? All of these questions. um the sacrum, which is just above your tailbone, is the sacrum. It's in the back of your pelvis. I'd like you to be more aware of stabilizing that. The sacrum is part of the spine. You have your pelvis. Where those two meet is a joint, and that's the SI joint, and that's where nerves are. So you might think you have a nerve issue because of the posture your bones are at. So if your pelvis is too tilted back, your spine could be in a different place. And for me personally, I'm sitting on something, because if I wasn't sitting on something, if it would take me a little bit, I feel like I have an unstable sacrum, but that might be like a self-diagnosis thing where I just feel like I almost have to like lift it up a little bit, because I would kind of like walk down a little bit and I just have to help myself come up. And I spent years, my right SI, I spent years with a lacrosse ball in there digging into my nerve. Mine's endometriosis. And, but the more I do something every day to correct it, doesn't have to be long, the better my body feels. And if I don't have time, or I know I'm going to have a busy day, I just know what I can do to get myself out of pain. And so you start to be creative with what you have. So without it costing a ton of money, there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to need in order to keep you stable, to do the exercise and the recovery. And there's a ton of recovery things out there. There's like even spas opening up with cryotherapy and infrared light and all of that stuff. And all of that is wonderful, but it also just depends on your finances. And so that's why I like all of these things that you can do on your own. And so some people have wonderful programs. I just don't think they understand hypermobility as well. And so kind of hoping that we all can create this all together. And I would love to know questions. And there's just so many nuances with all of this. So I've showed the weight on the head, because the neck is a pretty big thing for a lot of people. But I do want to say I have not met too many people with neck issues that don't keep their head. They don't keep their head like in good places, like the head leads. If your head's forward all the time, your muscles could be causing that. And then eventually your bones can kind of harden and solidify that. And your nerves go through the bones. So I'm not trying to fix anyone's posture anymore. I'm just trying to get you to feel better in your body. So if you had that lightweight on your head, it was a bag of quinoa I have. If you're really off, you might not want to put that on your head, but sometimes having that on your head might just bring that awareness, and you might have to build up that amount of time that you have it. I have that band, that compression band that's around. I only see people to exercise. So, I don't know if you should really be using that outside of exercise too much. You might have to do it to kind of like hold yourself up, but we really need to be working on what we can do. And that's just not the mainstream exercise. But one day you could be there. I work out and I hurt myself, but I also work out. There's options. So the hardest thing is how to tell you how to work out at home, because honestly, the reason why I have machines is because of the biomechanics that it can support. So if you are using resistance bands or weights, you are fighting gravity. Really, that's it. Unless the resistance band is forward around something and you can pull back. Most people need more back strength. Most people are too much in their front body. Most people walk in their front body and they should be pushing off from their butt. So what we do strength training should contribute to how we should live. So it kind of sets us up better than having it be so far apart. Pilates is really great because it has the side body and instability, but the movement is really basic. And once you start to do that so long, your neck and your psoas start to act up a lot. And so now I'm starting to see people who've been doing Pilates for 15 years, even some of my students, and I have to really modify out of it and then get the fascia component in there in order to release it. Because I could tell you shoulders down, shoulders down, shoulders down. And then I thought, maybe people are actually trying and they just can't. And so shoulders down, a lot of it comes from all the tightness here and, bad posture rounding here. And so the more I start with fascia releasing on the ribs in the armpits, that's going to help to readjust the shoulder blades and back. And then that's going to help you pretty much not fight yourself anymore. And then we can move on to other things. The body has this beautiful innate intelligence that even today, I had someone's son, I haven't seen him in, I don't know, 5 years, in his 60s, and he just had all this tightness and he wants to do yoga. And, I just said, okay, so you feel tight. Let's do this fascia stuff and kind of see. And it's just really interesting to see how you feel. And I don't know the words for it because you have to feel it. So, I just think the fascia is going to help reprogram everything. And if you could do one thing the rest of your life, you could do fascia. And once you kind of give up that edge on exercise, because exercise is us trying to control the body, us not being able to control our eating or our thinking or our emotions, or why are we clinging to that? And I'm guilty of it. I like exercise, and I angry exercise sometimes, right, to get the frustration out. And that's when people hurt themselves. And so when your joints hurt, when your back hurts, it's probably coming from a muscle somewhere else. If you have hip problems, I release the ribs a lot. I don't challenge nerves. I leave them alone. Calves, huge to release also. So because people don't use their butt enough. And if you don't use your butt, I don't know if you're going to try to walk with your head, kind of like a bird would, or what your strategy is going to be. But there needs to be gentle rotation in the spine to have better mechanics on the bones, because we want the bone bearing to prevent osteoporosis. So a little bit about the fascia. So the easiest thing to start with is a towel, and it just rolls up. You can choose all different size towels and do all different areas of your body and start there. You might need more towels to kind of prop yourself to hold your neck if we're doing side stuff, because we just can't be strong and muscle everything. So then another one I like is the 4-inch yoga block, but the 3-inch is fine if you're on the smaller end, but the 4-inch block, I just kind of like, because then you have all these different levels of what you can do. Now they're different. So it's just going to be interesting to kind of feel the difference and for you to put the words to it. This is a little harder, but it's flat, and you could tip it and use the edge a little bit more. So this might be better on carpet or on your bed or like on the couch, and just hang out and do some of that. Then this ball, it's a Pilates ball. This one is a Franklin method. I think on my Amazon, I just put a cheap one because it doesn't really matter. They're all plastic. But this is a good place to start. And this is a good place to start if you have something like fibromyalgia, because you need to it reflects what the material is. So I really like this soft ball because it really starts to break up the outside and start to maybe hydrate a little deeper on a gentle level. And then I have this black ball, which is a Rhythmic 420. I got it from OPTP. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard plastic, but it can tolerate 660 pounds. It fits nice in the neck. It fits nice. This is great for a lot of upper body stuff. You can use it on your legs too. It just lifts you up enough that you have to hold planks sometimes. So that really just depends on your ability there.
So, are you saying that we should be doing somatic fascia work and not muscle strengthening?
So the question is if we should do somatic versus muscle strengthening. It really depends on what's going on with your body. I think if exercise doesn't set you back, then you could do it and this, but it just depends what patterns you need to break. Because the people who come in trained actually have a harder time because we need to access different muscles. And so if you go in wanting a workout and you can't access those muscles, typical in Pilates, some people really don't like that and they don't necessarily want to come back because they want to feel that workout. So you're going to have to be patient. I see the somatics in there. I think they're very wonderful to do, but if you have a ton of adhesions in your body and knots, which I should actually talk about in a minute, you're going to move the best you can with that. And I think we need to go in and address those knots and adhesions. So I'll just go to these balls and then I'm going to go back to the knots and adhesions. So these ones are Franklin method. I think they're 3-inch or something. Also OPTP. I like these for, you get in deeper areas. You can do your quads, your hips, your really a lot of places, some of your face, your jaw. So the black ball and the orange ball is kind of similar density. I'm sure there's other ones out there. There's a ton of fascia stuff. I just can't speak on behalf of them. So the cool thing about fascia is how it kind of like adapts. And so if we had like a wrinkle on our shirt, so we have poor posture. Maybe we have scoliosis. Maybe we're, watching TV, or maybe we're like working and then we have like a wrinkle in our shirt here. Then when we were younger, we fell and like hit our shoulder and we have here and we have an adhesion here. That extra space, the fascia kind of might gum up a little bit, for lack of a better term, and you need to go in and find those adhesions. You need to find those knots. So when you go to a massage therapist, they often find these. If you are in a more sensitive space, you might want to work with a massage therapist, but it's going to require a lot of time. And so that's why I suggest doing this at home. Breathing is going to be the biggest thing in here. And just getting to know your body and just starting to know the history of our body. I mean, they say, kids bend or whatever, but I do wonder if down the line, this is why we have such issues with our body and our joints. So it's really never too late to do this. There's a lot of talk about breathing and not being able to breathe. And there are myofascial jaw people, because I have a couple clients who can't do basic things that are very interesting. Some of them being the ability to put the tongue on your roof, on the roof of your mouth, and being able to hold it there. Being able to click, because your tongue connects here, and if you're not using your tongue as you should and your neck as you should and the swallowing muscles and the breathing muscles, and you're maybe using the breathing muscles to hold your head up and like you're using them in all different sequence, then when it comes time to breathe, it's already disorganized and jumbled. So there just needs to be a little bit more organization. Another thing you should be able to do is you should be able to breathe through the nose and blow into your cheeks and your mouth. Not everyone can do that. You should be able to move your jaw forward and back. You should be able to pronounce, L's and, back to that tongue being on the roof of the mouth. And the tongue should have strength if you were to like push it to one side or the other. So this just might be insight into why you can't breathe. Also, you see me on my back putting the balls underneath my hips a lot in videos, because if you aren't sure if you know how to breathe, that's a great way to get into your diaphragm to breathe. And then once you know what you're going for, you can recreate it. But if you're just not really sure, then we need to find what works for you. Another thing is Eyes. You should be doing eye exercises because if you have any vestibular issues, your eyes might not be tracking the right way. A couple months ago, you saw me maybe wearing glasses, and I did eye exercises every day. They made me nauseous. I hated them, but I stuck with it. I focused far, I focused close. I covered one eye and did it. One of my eyes was not the same. That's what was giving me some issues. But all of this stuff is so important, and you are responsible to do it. Any more questions?
Yeah. How can you find a balance between releasing fascia without it leading to more joint instability? That's from Mackenzie.
How without more joint? So it depends. If is the fascia going to create more joint instability? And some of it, yeah, you could. And it might depend where you're doing it. So if it's too, some people, I would maybe try different densities. Maybe the block might be a little better. A lot of times near joints, there's bony protrusions, and those bony protrusions is what the muscle attaches to. And so you can even explore with your hand, but if you were to go in there and feel that bony protrusion, then you're going to get to the tendon, the ligament somewhere in there, which is what hypermobility affects. And then you follow a muscle. I'm just choosing my forearm to go here. If something's too big and you cover the joints, that might create too much space. So you might need something a little harder or smaller. And everyone's really different because then when you release fascia, there could be a healing period, healing crisis. Could that be considered a flare? Well, yeah, you're causing inflammation. Inflammation's not necessarily a bad thing, but you want it to go away. So sometimes you have to be a little uncomfortable short term as long as you feel better longer term. And keep everything aligned. Don't do any really crazy back bends and twists and contortions because you shouldn't. The mantra is always like, just because you can doesn't mean you should, that you really need to kind of keep your body in check. Some of you might need to do releasing with compression, with wraps, with bands in order to hold you better. And then, I don't know, ice or heat, there's big debate with that. I'm not going to get involved in that because it kind of depends on how you feel. But that actually would be something I would love to address I'm going to do 4-week courses, and I would love to have that question to explore because I'm honestly not really sure. And it depends on how hypermobile you are on that spectrum, but I'm sure you're not the only person.
I have the comments just kind of on here if you want to look over them. Some people are talking about their experiences.
Oh, okay.
So it's this one and this one.
Okay. Okay. Oh, hey, Enfield, Connecticut. That's cool. Just down the street. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of EDS, heads, no diagnosis. Yeah. And once you get diagnosed with one of these things, the scope is always looking at you're weak and you need to correct it. That's what physical therapy is you just strengthen this and then you should be fine. But the thing is, there's something not right that you can't just go strengthening. And so that's why I like that fascia component. So ribs popping all the time, when your rib cage is kind of like rotated up, that's going to put you in a different alignment. Experience, lots of years of experience as a yoga PT and health instructor, no relief. So that's when I kind of like the wood stuff better. I haven't shown you the wood stuff, but it's just, I just worked with a woodworker. It's, I also just went to Home Depot and just got like a rail. This gets really deep. And so if you have lipedema, I would not recommend doing this. I would recommend starting with the ball and softer. But getting in harder is going to get these deeper adhesions on the bone that a lot of The people higher on the hypermobile spectrum, they really like that hard stuff. I have someone who has one of those therapy guns, which I just say you should not do that at all. And he found one that goes even faster at a higher vibration. Um, I do not recommend it, and he finds it great. But he comes in with all of these like burns because and rashes because the adhesions, that's how they release. I use a maraca, a child's maraca, because it's quite hard, but then I can like use it in my hand. And I have videos on my website too, and I just do it on my face. And, you know, I'm able to get like into the jaw and I'm able to do my eyes. And then I kind of, when it gets the wrinkles away. And then as the wrinkles come back, I get these like little red spots. And so I just know it's time to do it again. But you might not have to do it as much. So breath work. I think breath work is going to be really important to start to get the deepest core. Really, it's diaphragm, breath work, and it's going to be pelvic floor. But the best thing that we can do, the easiest thing we can do, is start to do breath work. There is so much breath work to do, and I understand you want to do it to relax. Wim Hof, who's like the Iceman or whatever, who goes into ice baths, I'm not saying you should do this, but he just kind of proposes, hey, maybe we should learn to breathe in a more heightened state, because that's actually where we are. Like when we're stressed, it actually might be better to breathe in that space than to kind of like, you know, just calm down. So I'm just kind of planting seeds of different levels. One breath sequence I like, it's called quantum breathing. It's just one of the YouTubes. Sandy, I don't know, some guy with a shirt off. It's just a good beat that I like. But this breathing, I also learned not under quantum breath work. So if it's tied to something, I don't mean it. I just like that it's a double inhale through the nose and then it's an exhale through pursed lips. So let's all just take a minute and then try to do this together. You could try it sitting up or lying down at another time. So you can inhale through the stomach, inhale through the chest, exhale through the mouth. But what this is going to teach you is endurance, because we might be breathing too much, too fast, and get lightheaded. If we continue this for 2 or 3 minutes, you're going to have to change your strategy, be less shallow, not as audible. You might have to just pause. And then we're going to speed it up a little bit. All right, so it's going to be an in, out. Four more. Now you're going to go a little faster. In, out. In, out. We're going to end with that. You can continue doing that as much as you want through this video, but this is something that I like doing in life, actually. So if I need to walk somewhere, I do that. If I am cold, I breathe that way. You can use your whatever yoga breath you want in order to train that breath work, but I do want to let you know the diaphragm is the muscle that does help the breathing. So yoga can throw people off as far as muscle recruitment with the breathing, and it should be in the diaphragm. So you might need to kind of just focus on the diaphragm first, then adding all of these stomach, then chest and nose and mouth. And it just depends the confusion in your body. Do we have any more questions for now, or is that it?
Healing crisis from fascia release, how does it feel like and how long should it last?
So the healing crisis, it can last up to a month of some of what I've heard, because especially a rib release, when you start to work with the harder things, if you go too fast for your body and you're just trying to jump ahead, your body knows that you could actually feel a pop in your rib somewhere and it hurts. And I have never seen it break a rib, but also depends on if you're osteoporosis and what else happened. But the fascia can be so bound together around your rib cage that it just pops to release. And so if you progress slower through the balls, I don't think you would get as bad of a rib release. The rib release, as an example, might take 3 to 4 weeks to really go away, but it comes with people with shoulder neck issues. When I do gyrotonic with them, that spiral thing, and really get them in, most shoulder issues come from rib cage being tight. And so if you get a rib release, I'm curious if you have shoulder issues, but if the rib hurts, does the shoulder maybe feel like it has more movement? And so that's kind of what we're looking at, because it could be really uncomfortable. My relationship with pain, I spent years in pain and years in bed, and I don't like being too sore when I exercise. I probably wouldn't want too much of a healing crisis. You would probably feel it at the moment, but every once in a while, people felt fine during the session, and these are people who know their body really well, and then afterwards it gets really angry. And so it might be something I might not repeat again, or I might go around it and kind of be curious and not go to that exact spot if you wanted. But there should be some benefit to it, because it shouldn't just make you worse and worse and worse. I hope that helps. A big thing, feet. The feet fascia goes underneath, up the whole back of the body, up to the forehead. So people with neck issues, I think like 10, 15 years ago on this YouTube, I might show that foot thing. This is back before I even had a studio and it was out of my house. And it just is really interesting to look up, see your neck range of motion, do some stuff with your feet, and then come back and look up, and your range increases from just working your feet. I've seen people just stand on yoga blocks or the purple half balls that I have. They stand on them, and it was one guy, I think he was like in his 80s, and he stood on it in a month. He was watching rugby, so it wasn't in the United States. And he took a picture of his face at the beginning of a month and stood on the block for a month. And at the end of the month, he took a picture and his face was completely different. So you're not necessarily going after your pain spot. You're going over the whole body together. So that's really what I'm just trying to connect this, that we're not just going into the pain area. So that's really a lot of what I had to say. So what I'm going to do is offer a 4-week program starting next Monday. I can only take 15 people because I really want these conversations. I might have to screen a little bit to kind of make sure everyone's a little bit on the same page. And then in 2 weeks, I'll probably open up other 4-week classes. And also maybe do it on a Sunday morning, because there's a lot of people not necessarily in the US on Eastern Standard Time. And so it would be a 4-week. Right now it's going to be $197. I think on my website it's set up, it might be just limited to 15. I'm not sure, but that's going to be Monday at 5, which probably discourages some people out of the US. And then I want to do this Sunday one in a couple weeks. And then eventually you'll be able to get one more like a self-paced versus like when I can do it live, because I've been doing this for years. I just haven't done this online. So I'm not the most tech savvy. But there's a lot of questions that I need to ask, because everybody teaches me even throughout the day and through a session, and my body also. It's always really interesting, like if you have an injury, to kind of see what actually hurts on you. And then when you get in with the fascia, when you go poking at it, what actually hurts. And then you go in and you breathe and you sink into it. And it's just really interesting. A lot of people doing hypermobility stuff, they are lifting heavy weights. And yeah, I know that helps. I just don't know if they have a foundation. Like Pilates is that foundation that, like, you could do spine movements. We might need to, hold our neck to be aware of, like, are we moving through our neck too much? And then just loading the spine. One of the best back strengtheners is flat back, rock forward, and flat back, rock back. And that's it. This works the muscles along the spine. When you are doing the arch and curls, that's the erector spinae. They really don't have bone attachment. And so we really just need to learn how to stay flat, lean, how we can articulate different things here. When people have things in their hand, they pull from their hands. They do wrist stuff, but really it should be coming always from the stabilization here. There should be a stabilization point and then a part that's doing the exercise. I see videos all the time of people saying, calling something mobility, calling something stabilization, and it's not. Standing on the one leg, for example, could be a balance, could be a stabilizing, but if you're not using your side butt, you could be using your QL, which is your back muscle. It's like the opposite of your ab. So what are you just stabilizing with your QL? Like it's just nice to know what specific muscle you should be using and then what you need to do in order to use that better. The higher mobility people, when I stabilize them the right way, there's usually the side that they can breathe. And so it's just really interesting that, like, they have it. It's just really jumbled that it's just really interesting to see. So I'm not good with my phone, so I would love to record more during a session, but I'm just too present to kind of remember that. But I do want to catch that on video. And in some of my videos, you can see, can I say your name? You can see Alexis, that she helps me with stuff, and her husband. And so it's just interesting to see, like, hypermobility, how it changes differently, and the little corrections and the cues. So are there any other questions?
I don't have any yet, but you should say no.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions that you want answered? And then we'll probably be wrapping up. And so I do want to open it more to community. I do think there's a lot of wisdom in the crowd. And so I am curious. I'm not a big fan of Amazon. I don't like it, but I don't know another way to organize a list, honestly. It's not that I want to make money off of this stuff. I'm trying to give, it's all probably plastic and lead and from China, that, like, if it's somewhere different, I would love to know that. But the other issue is you might need something temporarily. And so I don't want to have, go tell you to spend something hundreds of dollars, because it might just be a tool to get you even further on your thing, and then you're going to change it up. So eventually I'd love to have, like, a resell, but that's down the line. But I love the wrist conversations because so many people have this T-Rex wrist and stuff, and it's just interesting that people are, like, sleeping with wrist brace, and I can understand that that's just not comfortable. But maybe if we work together, we can even get something kind of, like, created, or find, maybe we just need something small to stabilize and not, like, a whole thing.
The first question is, what do you charge for an in-studio, in-person session? And then, are the classes that you are referring to live on Zoom?
Yeah, so in person, I'm 110 for 50 minutes. I can see a lot online, but it depends what you have at home, honestly. I'm not some miracle worker. My tools are really everything. That I'm particular to the balls. I could try to figure out the squish test, like trying to see if it's, like, too hard, too soft. I could probably talk to you about how does that feel now? How does it feel later? The 4-week cohorts that I was talking about will be live. And then if you can't make it live, they will be recorded, so then we can send them to you. This will be on YouTube, which is why I just wanted it free and here. And so if you wanted the live, that's why I'm offering the Sunday morning one, because the Monday at 5 time might be really limiting for people. But let me know, because I'm creating all of this for you guys. I'm seeing the interest, I'm seeing where there's kind of gaps. So it really is just empowering your body to heal, and then maybe helping other people.
And then for stability or strengthening exercises, how do you know when it's too much for a hypermobile body without feeling the effects 2 days after?
How do you know what's too much? Well, some of it you have to go through it, that, and it's up to you. Is that too much, and it keeps you down for too long, and is that not worth it? That sometimes you should do less weights. Always, really, Pilates is kind of term to me is working out with good form. So drop the weight, have good alignment from hip to shoulders. Whatever you do, try to work from the butt and the armpits, even if you're doing shoulder presses. And you might kind of need to sidestep a little bit. Once a week, I lift heavier, and I only do it for maybe 15 minutes tops. We don't need full hours. At first, you might be doing more fascia releasing, and then you might be able to build up to more strength training. But I don't think we need as much strength training, as the studies haven't ever been done on the lighter weight. So it's not fair. I read the book Strength by Science, and burn out those muscles, burn out the glucose. I'm on board. 3 weeks into it, I was so fatigued, and like I couldn't work out for like 3 weeks. So I just can't listen to that. Like, we're just not built the same. I am curious if you're more fast twitch or slow twitch. Fast twitch tends to be sprinters. They can usually do pull-ups. They're heavier lifters, whereas the slow twitch is endurance, lighter weights. And so I'd be curious of that component in your body too, because if you're fast twitch, build muscle real easy, you might not want to do as much lifting, but that's kind of what feels good. And you might need to learn how to do more like slow twitch, stability, and do like that once or twice a week, and then maybe heavy lifting to complement it.
I haven't explored your videos much. Which videos on your site best demonstrates your current teaching style?
All of them. All of which videos demonstrate my teaching style? I mean, it's really all of it. They aren't that old, the videos that I have on there. If you were to scroll down through during COVID, I think I have a 14-day mat workout, which if you have neck issues, you probably shouldn't do mat Pilates. If you can bend and roll really well on your spine, you probably shouldn't do mat Pilates. The equipment's a little better of where it's at, but we just can't be in the muscular system too much. You have to be in the fascia system, muscular, and like look at the whole body. Not only drink water, you probably want to eat more fruits, like get your hydration through food, which kind of eliminates processed food and grains, and just more into that gelatinous, because that's ultimately we want, is like jellier feeling in there versus like, strippy, like really fluid or really like stiff lines. And then we can build muscle on top of that. All right, we'll do a couple more questions or any more. Or...
No, someone just replied that they personally are slow twitch and that they can't do wrist braces because they get cysts. And then adding heavier weights within my limits helps my joint stabilization and awareness.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So some people feel better with heavier weights and they're slow twitch, you said? Mm-hmm. Someone with slow twitch. And this is what's weird. It's all different. Someone's slow twitch, but then the wrist brace makes them have cysts. And someone else said that they get a rash. I can't wear a watch or I get a rash. I'm not totally sure what that's about. And ways around it that I would be curious of material, but everything's plastic. So, if we could not be plastic, I think that would be a little better. On my website, I do have core stuff and back stuff that you could do. The thing is, honestly, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what your body's doing. So I could tell you to go and do this exercise, but I can't guarantee what muscle you're going to be using. I'm doing my best to try to explain everything, but if I know the hypermobile, and I can't feel it myself, I can see it, but if I know the hypermobile community, it's just really hard to know what the body's going to do and how it pulls. That um, if you need the coaching in it, then let's try to do the live cohorts, because that's just going to be the best thing to ultimately help you. And you shouldn't need me forever. I'm really just a step up until you do other things, but I'm not done learning. So I'm going to be going on and questioning everything. I might say all of this was totally wrong in a year or two, because that's just how I am. But I'm in this process too. I mean, I bend down, I feel my hamstring pop, and then I have to go sit on a yoga block up on near my sit bone in order to address that ligament. And then I just sit there for a couple minutes, then I can feel better, and then I'm fine until the next time I pop it. And so it is just this ever evolving practice. It's not just a workout, it's really a practice, and it's you connecting to your body. So I'm going to wrap it up there, but feel free to email me, message me with any questions. If you're interested in working together and doing that 15-person limit lives, then I would be curious on your level of like, can you exercise or can you not? That might be the first division of people, because some people we might need to go really basic to stuff, and then I can start opening it up more to more specifics as we go on. So just talk to me. I'm curious to help everyone. So I hope this was helpful for everyone. There's just so much to say, but really trust your gut. Don't just listen to me. I have some people that say no in the middle of a rep, no explanation, we move on, because there's other things to do. There's no time to hurt yourself. There's no reason to hurt yourself. Use your gut. If you don't feel good, don't do it. Let's have a conversation about it. There's a ton of also other people out there doing fascia stuff, that they could also be some of support too, and you might be able to learn something from them. I just prefer this stuff because it just feels the best for my body, but everyone's different. And yeah, so I guess we'll wrap it up there. And I'm not sure how to stop it. Thank you, everyone.